Hi everyone, I just wanted to give you a little update on the question of psychosis in relation to NI dominance. I have made videos before where I touch on the intriguing similarities between the ways that NI is sometimes described and the ways that psychotic states are sometimes described. It's true that when we talk about, for example, a sense of alienation or severance from the real world, when we talk about being in the world of fantasy, being the world of the imaginary, and being fascinated with this world at the, or to the detriment of external reality, when we talk about solipsism, there is certainly there are notions in common with the notions that we come across when we explore psychotic states. So not necessarily, people who have got a diagnosis of schizophrenia or some other disorder, but also psychotic states that we may experience when we take drugs, for example, or sometimes in periods of intense stress. As I like to really emphasize nowadays, because this can easily be misunderstood, our personality structures they're not like one solid block with no variations within it. We are all dynamic moving structures. I mean, certainly organized around a core kind of patterning, what I refer to as the core stitch wound of the symbol. But there is a lot of moving parts, and these moving parts are constantly in interaction with the moving parts of external reality itself. And in all of us, even those of us who consider themselves to have good mental health, to not need therapy, to be healthy people, be normal people, there are psychotic pockets there. There are more neurotic pockets, there are more perverse pockets there. Of course, there is often a dominance of so-called neurotic pockets, and these might be sort of not particularly intensely bloated. So we may say, okay, this person's mental health is fine, but we all are moving parts, okay? I just wanted to emphasize that because that's really also the modern understanding that proper psychology has of these various conditions, okay? Now, in terms of NI and psychosis, I was thinking that now that we have more vocabulary to understand the NI world and NI dynamics and where NI comes from, we can understand the similarities better, but also the differences, okay? Because essentially, if we consider that the symbolic knotting of the NI dominance, at the center of consciousness, which sort of stitches together personal and collective unconscious, if you consider this symbol, I sometimes call it the broken womb, the open wound, the ghost of the lost mother, the open circle, and so forth. If you consider that it is unusually porous, okay, meaning that it's a kind of sponge for archetypal water, and lets in more archetypal dynamics, and so lets the world of fantasies with PH, be infiltrated with more archetypal themes than the average type. Well, in a psychotic episode, imagistically, we could represent this as like a collapse of the symbol. We can consider the symbol is no longer able to hold this archetypal water, and is that it completely just floods the unconscious, personal unconscious, and interferes, because the quantity is so massive that the interference with the fantasy system is such that the person, when encountering reality, is not encountering reality with transmuted ciphers, right? The superego functions have not done their work of transmuting ciphers into signs, if you follow my language. So they come into contact with reality without those transmutations done, which means that they don't come equipped to face reality and come into contact with reality with the ability to organize reality into perceptions that are themselves chains of signification, chains of signs. Lacan would say that this is like being invaded by the real, and the sort of existential terror that can be experienced in a psychotic state is like it's like coming into contact with reality that has not been symbolized in any way, and that is very, very terrifying. That's because the ciphers have not been transmuted, and they've not been transmuted because of the interference of the, I believe, collective unconscious with the personal unconscious, and this flooding of the personal unconscious with the archetypal substance, given that the symbol has so much porosity, excessive porosity, one might say, that it just, the dam has broken down. And that's how we can tell that there's a difference, because in the case of NI dominance, the symbol is holding on. The symbol is porous, but it's not that porous, and the symbol is established, the symbol is strong, the symbol typically doesn't change much. But it is true that in cases of very pronounced anti-solipsism, it can sometimes feel as if the person is like in a state of low intensity self-induced psychosis, but it's not psychosis. It's only a sort of pseudo simulation of it, and it's certainly not as terrifying as what a psychotic episode can be experienced as. But the similarities are nevertheless there, because there is the prevalence of the archetypal thematic and of the density of ciphers. But in the case of, psychotic states, superego is less prevalent, and the transmutation is kind of kaput, at least during the episode. Hopefully that was a clarification, guys. Don't forget you can support me on Patreon. The link is below. I'd be really grateful if you supported me. It's only a few dollars or euros a month or a year. You can also choose to support me a year. It's not that much, and in return you get really, really cool perks like access to our Discord server, the Furfold, come hang out with us, as well as a big library of deep dives, which are long format videos on topics of your choice. There's already a large library of those, and the Patreon supporters are big fans of it. So I hope to see you there. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video, guys, too. And don't forget my 2 books about the INFJ. If you haven't got them yet, there is the Ecstatic Soul, my first book on the INFJ, which is all about the inner life of the INFJ, the mind, consciousness, thoughts, and so on. And its sequel, The Infinite Soul, which is all about the INFJ and the external world, a world that is often felt as hostile by INFJs. And these books, of course, go very well together. If you want a deep understanding of the type, check the links below. They're not expensive, and they hopefully will teach you a lot of stuff. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Give me a like, because this helps massively with referencing, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.